Am I the a-hole? Dad gave the business to brother, so I left. I've been working for my dad since I was 15 years old. It's hard to even put into words what those early years were like, but looking back, that was the foundation of everything I thought I knew about my future. While other kids my age were out at parties or worrying about their exams, I was in the back of a cramped, rusted-out van, learning how to solder copper pipes and crawl through subfloors that smelled of damp and decay. My older brother, who is now 30, was always different. He was the academic. He went off to university, got his degrees, and eventually moved to the city to work as an accountant. For a long time, it was just me and my dad. He was the lead, I was the apprentice, and we were building something from the ground up. I'm 27 now. For 12 years, I have lived and breathed this plumbing and gas business. I went to college to get every qualification and certification required. I didn't just want to be the son who worked for his dad, I wanted to be the best tradesman in the fleet. I earned my stripes in the trenches. When the winter nights were freezing and a pipe burst in an elderly woman's basement at 3 a.m., it was me who got out of bed to fix it. My dad saw that. He relied on me. About the time the pandemic started, things shifted. My brother moved back from the city. The corporate world wasn't quite what he expected, or perhaps the stability of the family business suddenly looked more appealing during a global crisis. He started working for my dad, but not on the tools. He took over the accounting side of things. Around that same time, our family received some devastating news. My dad, who is 55, was diagnosed with asbestosis. It's been a grueling 4 years watching him struggle with his health. It's been hard on everyone. He's getting worse, his lungs are failing him, but he's still trying to love life. He still has that spark, even if he's breathing through a machine more often than not. Because of his health, I stepped up. For the last 2 years, I have been the one running the business. I didn't just maintain it, I expanded it. We went from a small local outfit to a massive operation. We now have 50 vans in the fleet. I structured it so that each van has one qualified engineer and one trainee. I wanted to give young kids the same chance I had, but with better organization. Managing 50 vans, 100 employees, and the endless logistics of a regional plumbing and gas empire became my entire life. COVID was brutal at the start, supply chains broke, people didn't want us in their homes, but we bounced back stronger than ever because I refused to let it fail. Even with the growth, my dad and I kept our traditions. He still insists on working on the tools with me on Fridays. It's only a half day now because that's all his lungs can handle, but those 4 hours mean the world to us. After we finish up, we head back to my place for some beers. Friday is actually the only day I'm even on the tools anymore. The rest of the week, I'm the acting CEO. I'm handling the contracts, the payroll, the fleet maintenance, and the client relations. I thought I was the successor. I thought it was understood. Last month, my dad called a family meeting. He told us he was officially stepping down because his health just won't allow him to continue even in a limited capacity. He wants to spend whatever time he has left with my mother. I sat there, nodding, feeling a mix of sadness for his health and a quiet sense of pride that I was finally going to take the reins of the legacy we built together. Then he said it. He was giving the business to my brother. I felt like the air had been kicked out of my lungs. He told me that I needed to step down from my position as acting CEO. He wasn't just giving my brother a share, he was making him the boss. I was being demoted back to a heating engineer. My salary was being slashed by £20,000 immediately. My brother, who hasn't been here for the struggle, who doesn't know the difference between a manifold and a mixer valve, was now my employer. I sat there in silence for a long time, just looking at them. My brother didn't even look guilty. He looked like he expected this. This is the same brother who, for years, told me that the trades weren't worth his time. He looked down on the dirt under my fingernails while he was off at uni. And now, he's the boss of a business I grew? I waited until we were alone to speak to my dad. I asked him how he could do this. I reminded him that I've been here for 12 years. I reminded him that when the business was nothing, it was just us. I told him my brother has no clue what we actually do on a day-to-day basis. He can't manage a fleet of 50 vans if he doesn't understand the work the men are doing. My dad looked me in the eye and told me that my brother deserved it for all he has done. He told me that because my brother has a family, a wife and kids, and I don't, he needs the stability and the income more than I do. Then he threw the university degree in my face. He said that because my brother went to uni, he was better suited to run a company, regardless of the fact that I've been successfully running it for 2 years already. The word spread through the company fast. The workers aren't stupid. They've been reporting to me. They've seen me on the sites at 6 a.m. A lot of the senior engineers are furious. Several of them have pulled me aside and told me plainly, if you leave, we're going with you. They don't want to work for an accountant who treats them like rows on a spreadsheet. I went back to my dad one last time. I told him that if this was truly his decision, then I was done. I told him I would leave and start my own business from scratch. I'm not going to be a subordinate in a house I helped build. Since that conversation, I haven't spoken to my dad or my brother. I told them not to contact me. The fallout has been a nightmare. For the last month, my phone hasn't stopped ringing. It's not just them, it's the whole extended family. I've had aunts, uncles, and cousins messaging me, calling me ungrateful. They're saying I'm abandoning my father while he's sick. They're saying I'm a spoiled brat for not wanting to help my brother. Some of the things said have been incredibly hurtful. They see a CEO title and think I'm being greedy, but they don't see the 12 years of sweat equity I put into that company. They don't see the pay cut or the insult of being told my brother deserves my hard work because he has a university degree and a kid. I've spent a lot of time thinking about what my father said. To hear him tell me, in his own way, that he doesn't think I'm good enough, that my 12 years of loyalty don't outweigh a 3-year degree, was the hardest part of all this. Having the family take his side makes it feel like I'm the outsider in my own bloodline. But I'm not sitting still. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to start making calls. I've worked with some very large clients over the last 6 years. I know for a fact there are several massive sites that were postponed during the height of the pandemic, projects worth big money. I have the relationships with those clients. They trust me, not the name on the van. I already have 20 of my colleagues who have reached out and confirmed they want to come work for me the moment I have a license and a lease. I've been frugal over the last 12 years. I've saved nearly every penny I've earned, so I have the capital to get myself on my feet. I have enough for the first few vans and the insurance. I'm not doing this to destroy my brother. I want to make that clear. As much as I'm hurting and as much as I want to lash out, I spent 13 years of my life building that business. I don't want to see it die, and I don't want to see the guys who stayed lose their jobs. But I can't stay. It's about 5 a.m. here in England right now. I've been up all night reading through everything and trying to clear my head. The support I've received from people who understand the trade has helped more than I can say. I've decided I'm going to go over to my father's house around 8 a.m. I'm going to ask him to come out for breakfast. Just the two of us. I need to try and talk to him one more time, not as a boss and an employee, but as a son and a father. I'm honestly not sure if I'll get a proper answer from him. I'm not sure if he's even capable of seeing what he's done from my perspective. But I love my family. Despite the hurt and the betrayal, I want my future kids to know their grandfather. I don't want a business dispute to be the reason I'm not there at the end. I will update after the events of later today. So, am I the a-hole? Update. As I said in one of the comments, I believe my family had found my post, and they did. This morning, when I arrived at my parents' house, my mum opened the door and looked like she had been crying a lot. My dad came over to talk to me, and we went out for breakfast. He didn't say a word on the way there or when we arrived. Then, on the way back, he asked if we could pull over and talk. I can honestly say this was the first time I saw my dad cry. It completely caught me off guard because my whole life he has always been the sort of man that dealt with things by shutting down and carrying on. I have seen him injured, exhausted, angry, stressed out beyond belief during the worst years of the business, but never crying. Even after he got diagnosed and started getting really ill, he still carried himself like nothing could touch him. We sat in the car for a while at the side of the road, and at first he couldn't even get the words out properly. He just stared ahead and rubbed his face like he was trying to compose himself. I asked him straight why he had done this to me because, no matter how many times I replayed everything in my head, I still couldn't understand how he could build something with me for over a decade and then hand me a demotion like I was some random employee. He told me he didn't know why he had handled it the way he did and admitted he had been thinking about it for months before making the decision. Apparently, my brother coming back home stirred up a lot of guilt in him. He said there were years when my brother was younger that he barely saw him because he was constantly working. There were school events he missed, birthdays he turned up late to, football matches he never attended because he was out doing jobs or dealing with customers. My brother apparently carried resentment over that for years, and my dad thought giving him the business would somehow make up for it. Hearing that honestly made me feel sick because it had nothing to do with ability, effort, loyalty, or experience. It was guilt. 12 years of my life were outweighed by guilt. I asked him if he understood what he had actually done to me because this wasn't just about a title or money. I left school and went straight into the trade. I worked winters outside when my mates were out enjoying themselves. I spent weekends on emergency call-outs. I missed holidays. I put relationships on the back burner. During COVID, when everything nearly collapsed, I was the one sitting up until 3 in the morning reorganizing schedules, chasing invoices, sorting vans, speaking to suppliers, and trying to keep lads employed. Half the expansion of the company happened because I pushed for it. I found new contracts, hired staff, built relationships with site managers and developers, and took pressure off my dad while his health got worse. I reminded him that when my brother was living in the city, he openly mocked the business. He used to joke about me crawling around under sinks while he worked in offices wearing suits. Family dinners would turn into him talking about investments and finance while acting like the trade was beneath him. My dad never corrected him. Not once. At the time, I ignored it because I genuinely thought the business would eventually become mine to run properly anyway. Looking back now, I realize I probably ignored a lot more than I should have. My dad admitted he knew my brother never respected the work side of the business and said he believed that would change once he became responsible for it. That part nearly made me laugh because it was such a ridiculous thing to gamble an entire company on. You cannot hand over a business with 50 vans, staff wages, contracts, and clients attached to it, hoping someone suddenly develops respect for the industry overnight. He said after reading the post and the comments people had left, he started realizing how bad the situation looked from the outside. Apparently, one of my cousins found the post and sent it around the family group chats. My mum had spent most of the night crying after reading what strangers were saying about her and how people believed she had treated me like the less important son for years. According to him, she was devastated that so many people saw the favoritism immediately because she thought they had hidden it better than they actually had. That conversation hit harder than I expected because, even though I was angry, I never posted any of it hoping to humiliate my parents. I posted because I genuinely felt like I was losing my mind. The people around me kept telling me I was selfish and ungrateful while I sat there wondering how anyone could think what happened was fair. Seeing thousands of strangers immediately understand why I was hurt made me realize I wasn't overreacting after all. My dad apologized for never properly acknowledging everything I had done for the company. He said he thought I already knew how proud he was of me because we spent so much time together working. He mentioned all the mornings we started before sunrise, all the Fridays we spent together, all the times he trusted me to handle major decisions without checking behind me. He genuinely believed that was enough. The problem is none of that matters much when the final decision tells a completely different story. You can tell someone they matter every day of their life, but if the moment comes to prove it and they get shoved aside, that is what stays with them. I asked him directly whether he ever planned on giving me ownership at all or if I was always just the son that worked while my brother was the son he wanted to impress. He didn't answer properly. He just stared down at the steering wheel and said he made a mistake. That was the closest thing to honesty I got from him the entire morning. He told me he now realized the business should have been split between us because my brother understood numbers and I understood operations, workers, clients, and growth. According to him, the company needs both sides to survive long term. The issue with that is he realized it after everything had already been signed over. Legally, my brother owns it now. My dad has no control anymore, and apparently my brother made it very clear there would never be a 50-50 arrangement. That part didn't surprise me at all. Ever since my brother came back, he acted like he had already won something. He would sit in meetings throwing around business phrases while ignoring advice from people that had actually worked in the industry for decades. Staff would explain why certain things were done a specific way, and he would dismiss it because it wasn't how things looked on spreadsheets. Within the first week, he tried changing supplier agreements without understanding why we used those suppliers in the first place. He wanted to cut labor costs by reducing overtime even though emergency callouts were one of the reasons clients stayed loyal to us. One of the site managers from a large contract actually phoned me privately after a meeting, asking what the hell was happening because my brother came across arrogant and completely disconnected from how projects worked in practice. I tried to help him at first despite everything. For nearly 3 weeks after the handover, I stayed professional. I explained processes, introduced him properly to people, walked him through ongoing contracts, and warned him about potential issues with upcoming work. Every conversation turned into him talking over me or dismissing what I said because he believed running numbers in an office made him more qualified to run the business than someone who had physically helped build it. The final straw happened during a meeting about staffing. He wanted to move apprentices around constantly between teams because he thought it would improve productivity on paper. Anyone who has actually worked in trades knows that is a terrible idea because good trainees develop properly under consistent supervision. I told him exactly that, and he cut me off in front of everyone, saying he understood business management better than I did and maybe I should focus on sticking to engineering. That room went completely silent. A couple of the lads later told me they couldn't believe he spoke to me like that after everything I had done for the company. One of the older engineers who worked with my dad before I even joined pulled me aside outside and said if I ever started my own company, he would hand his notice in the same day. At the time, I didn't take him seriously. Now 3 different people have already contacted me asking when I'm officially setting up because they want to come over. During the conversation in the car, my dad admitted staff morale had already started dropping since I left. Apparently, jobs were getting delayed because communication between office management and field workers had become a mess. My brother was focusing heavily on reports, restructuring, and cost analysis while ignoring the actual day-to-day reality of keeping engineers moving efficiently. Clients had started asking where I was because I was usually the one handling major issues personally. He asked me if I would consider coming back just to stabilize things while everyone adjusted. I told him absolutely not. I reminded him that I did not leave on impulse. I was demoted, had my salary cut by £20,000, and was expected to quietly accept it while training the man replacing me. Even after all that, I still attempted to make it work out of respect for my dad. The respect only went one direction though. I explained that once trust is gone there is no fixing it by pretending nothing happened. Every decision from now on would come with resentment attached to it. Every meeting would turn into me biting my tongue while my brother acted like he earned control over something he walked into during the final chapter. My dad looked exhausted hearing that. Not angry. Just defeated. He asked what I planned to do next, and I told him the truth. I had already started contacting clients I had personal relationships with. Several delayed projects from COVID were finally restarting, and some of those contracts were worth serious money. Over the years, I made sure clients had my direct number because I believed relationships mattered more than fancy presentations. A few had already expressed interest in working with me independently if I started my own company. When I said that, he looked panicked for the first time all morning. He asked if I was trying to destroy the business. I told him no because, despite everything, I still care about the people working there. Some of those lads have mortgages, kids, and families depending on that company. I am not interested in revenge. I just refuse to stay somewhere I am clearly not valued. That seemed to hit him hard because he started crying again and apologizing over and over. He said he had destroyed the family and admitted he never expected me to actually leave. Apparently, both him and my brother thought I would cool down after a few days and accept the situation eventually. What neither of them understood is that the business was never just a job to me. It was most of my adult life. Being pushed aside after dedicating everything to it changed the way I see both of them permanently. When we got back to the house, my mum was sitting in the kitchen and immediately started crying again when she saw us walk in. She hugged me and kept apologizing for the messages some family members had been sending me. Apparently, several relatives only heard my brother's version of events at first and believed I walked out because I was jealous over not becoming owner. Once the full story started spreading, opinions changed very quickly. A couple of my uncles had already contacted my dad asking him what he was thinking handing full control to someone with barely any practical involvement in the company. One even pointed out that every successful family business they knew eventually collapsed once decisions became emotional instead of practical. My brother wasn't there during any of this, which honestly made things easier. I don't think I could have handled another conversation with him today without it turning ugly. From what my mum hinted at, he was furious the post existed at all and believed I embarrassed the family publicly. The irony there is unbelievable considering none of this would have happened if he had simply acknowledged the work that built the company before he walked in and took over. Before leaving my parents' house, my dad asked one final time if there was anything he could do to fix things. I told him there probably was months ago before contracts were signed and bridges burned. Now all he could really do was accept the consequences of the decision he made. The drive home afterwards felt strange more than anything else. For weeks, I had been angry constantly. Angry every time my phone went off. Angry every time another relative called me selfish. Angry every time I thought about being treated like disposable labor after half my life spent helping build something. After finally hearing the truth from my dad, the anger shifted into disappointment. Not because I expected perfection from him, but because the reasoning behind everything was so unfair and avoidable. My fiancée was waiting for me when I got back, and I ended up sitting with her for most of the afternoon going over everything that happened. She wasn't surprised by any of it. Apparently, from the outside, she had noticed the imbalance in the family for years but stayed quiet because she didn't want to come between me and my parents. She pointed out that my brother had always been praised for potential while I was praised for reliability. At the time, I brushed it off because I thought hard work would eventually speak for itself. Maybe that was naive. Later tonight, I had calls with 2 clients regarding upcoming projects, and both conversations went far better than expected. One of them outright said they trusted me personally more than the company name itself because I had been the person solving problems on their sites for years. Another asked if I already had staff lined up because they would prefer continuity rather than dealing with uncertainty after management changes. That honestly gave me more confidence than anything else over the last month. For the first time since all this started, I actually feel like I might be alright without the family business attached to my name. I still love my parents despite everything. That part has not changed no matter how angry I have been. Seeing my dad break down today was horrible because beneath all of this he is still the man who taught me the trade, took me to work before sunrise, bought me my first van, and trusted me with huge responsibilities long before most people my age would ever get them. At the same time, love does not magically erase consequences. My dad broke down, said that he had destroyed the family and should never have done what he did. I don't understand why it took this long for him to realize I was a valuable piece in the company. Update 2. As I said, I have had a couple of Zoom calls with some clients today, and they have gone very well. I have been informed that they will all be sending signed proposal letters for the up-and-coming work. Luckily, the site start dates don't clash. That was one of the main things I was worried about. 3 of my colleagues have now left the business and have spoken to my dad, informing him about why they left and that they will be coming to work with me under their own choice. To hear them tell me this meant a lot. They all have between 5 to 10 years more experience in the industry. At the moment, I have all we need to start a new business with the 3 vans I own and the tools I have built up over the years. I am looking forward to the new venture in my life and can't wait to share this with my children when I have them. Then I received a call from my father asking me to come over for dinner. I was unsure at first but thought it was probably a step in the right direction. On arrival, my whole family was there. I went in and the atmosphere dropped. My mum wouldn't look at me, and my brother just sat there acting as if I didn't exist. My dad came and asked me and my brother to come into his office. He started to ask when I was going to return to the company, as they need me in early Monday morning. I could not even believe what I was hearing. I told them both I'm not coming back and have started my own company, and what does he mean, we, when he gave the business to him, my brother? My brother started to lose his temper, telling me if I cared about the company, why would I leave? I had some very choice words before telling him that I have always cared for the company and spent 12 years of my life working to make it successful, unlike him, who swans in and takes all the glory, and that I will not sit there and be treated like that. I told my brother to fuck off so I could talk to Dad. I asked what this morning was all about, telling me he's sorry but then expecting me to go running back. He couldn't even look me in the eye, so I left, said goodbye to my cousin, nieces, and nephews, and walked out. I've been writing for about 3 hours on and off, coming back on here to talk to people. I just want to say thank you to everyone for the personal messages, comments, rewards, and all the kind words and encouragement. I'll try and message everyone, but I'm exhausted and will most likely fall asleep. Update 3. Sorry it's been a while, I've had a lot going on in the last couple of weeks. I'll try and explain as much as I can. So, the new business is going very well, we have a lot of work coming in and are making good money. At the end of the year, I will be looking at expanding, so very happy with that. Me and my fiancée are very happy. She is very busy planning the wedding of her dreams. She wants me to wear a suit but tough luck, I'll be in my kilt. I couldn't be happier than I am right now waking up to her every day. She is there for me no matter what and has been my rock through everything. Then my family, my father and brother still refuse to talk to me and have told me they will not be attending the wedding even though they haven't been invited. My mother has called my fiancé but hasn't said much, only to ask about wedding stuff, and will not talk to me. My fiancé's family have been amazing, my soon-to-be in-laws have been helping with the wedding and everything else, and I am extremely thankful for everything they have done for us. My other family members have now backed off and apologized and want to make amends for everything that was said. Myself and my fiancé are set to have our wedding in November. We sat down together and have decided to try to have children after we are married. We are both excited to be parents.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Daily Tales Update.